which is basically something really quick, really fast, and really sweet. It's basically optional stuff for, say, moving, flanking, and also facing. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and I'm gonna move us over to the new screen. Now, as you can see here, you know, I also have a grid up, and I have some tokens. Now, movement in D&D 5e in the Player's Handbook is just standard. I mean, it's just like 4th edition. You know, it's 1 square is 5 foot, no matter where you go, or even for hexes. So, standard, you know, Standards Player's Handbook, D&D 5e. If you're going to move 10 feet, then you would basically just move this and move 5 feet, 10 feet, done. You got 10 feet. If you're going to move 30 feet, you can move diagonally whatever you want. There's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Okay? That's 30 feet using just standard D&D 5e. But in the Player's Handbook, it does tell you that when the Dungeon Master's Guide comes out, there is going to be some optional stuff in there while using a battle map or a battle grid. So this is, you know, this is what this tutorial is about. And for the larger monsters, it would just be the same thing. You would just move 1 square, just 5 feet, 10 feet. That would be 15 feet. That would be 20 feet. That would be 25 feet, and bam, that'd be 25-foot movement for your big old orc, your giant orc. So movement is pretty much straightforward. There's no penalties on diagonal movement. Now, optional rules, diagonals. Now, like I just said, the Player's Handbook presents a simple method for counting movement and measuring range on a grid. You basically count every square as 5 feet, even if you're moving diagonally. So, though this is fast in play, it breaks the laws of geometry and is inaccurate over long distances, which it is. This optional rule provides more realism, but it requires a little bit more effort during combat. Now, when you're measuring range or moving diagonally on a grid, the first diagonal square counts as 5 feet. That's diagonal square. That's the key word. First diagonal square is always 5 feet. Now, the second diagonal square that you move is going to be worth double that. So it'll be worth 10 feet. So moving 2 squares would have cost you 10. But with this diagonal optional rule, now it costs you 15. And then this pattern of 5 feet and then 10 feet continues whenever you're counting diagonal, even if you move horizontally or vertically between each of those squares. So, for example, a character might move 1 square diagonally, 5 feet, then 3 squares straight, then another square diagonally for a total of 30 feet. Now, I'm going to turn on in Roll20, in case you do not know this, Dungeon Masters and players out there. You can go to the map that you're on, which we're on the flanking, and you can turn this on to Pathfinder or 3.5e compatible. There's no D&D 5e, optional. So you're just going to want to go to Pathfinder 3.5, hit OK. Now it's going to take diagonal movement into consideration. So a lot of people didn't know this. So let's go back to our example here, and now we'll do this with the virtual tabletop. And this would work the same thing even if you're on a battle map at home. So okay, for example, the character might move 1 square diagonally. So we're going to pick up our token. We're going to move our first square diagonally. See how it says 5 feet? Okay. So now we're going to move 3 squares straight for a total of 15 more feet. So there's 10 feet, 15, and 20 feet. Now you can see, hey, there we go. There's our 3 squares. Now it tells us that it's good. We're going to move one more square, and that's a total of this is a total of 20 feet now. Now we're going to move this last diagonal square, and you're going to see instead of going from 20 to 25, it's going to go to 30. There you go. So it counts that second square, diagonal square, as 10 feet. No matter how many horizontal or vertical movements you perform, that second square is always going to be worth 5 feet. All right, so that is the example right there. Now we're even going to go a little bit further on that, and you're going to see we're going to move another diagonal square. It's not going to go to 40, it's going to go to 35. So as you can see, there's your 35. And then if you do it again, it's 45. And then it just repeats the process 5, 10. Really simple, guys. I mean, and this is all in the options. Like I said, go up here to the whatever map you're using, whatever grid you're using in Roll20. You would just go ahead and go to the options portion of this, page settings, and go to the diagonals drop down box. Default, it stays on 4th edition. Default is basically 5 foot anytime you move, sideways, diagonal, horizontal, vertically, it doesn't matter. Pathfinder, that puts the 5, 10, 5, 10, 5, 10 into action. So there you go, guys. That is good, and I've already implemented this in my D&D 5e game. So like this rule does state, it does give you a little bit more accuracy and a little bit more realism for movement. So, all right, everybody. I hope that helped out. Do you guys have any questions at all on diagonal movement for D&D 5e? You guys have anything? Anything at all? You guys have any questions in the chat?